Okay, hello everyone. As I was going through the lesson for this week, which is focused on Moses and the Red Sea, we um, saw a few points, but today I was reading through the journey that he took after God spoke to him in the wilderness and in the burning bush. You see Moses coming back to ask Jethro, his father in law, and that's where the journey began for Moses. But there was something interesting that happened between the time he took the journey out to go to Egypt to see Pharaoh. Now, it's a very interesting story, and it's found in Exodus chapter 4, verses 23 to 26. And bear in mind, Moses was handpicked by God from the burning bush, as I said. So at that point where he was about to go and see the king, he encountered something. He encountered a situation between him and God. And the situation was that God wanted to kill him in between the journey that he took. So what happened was that God stopped him along the way and nearly took his life. So why is it that God stopped him along the way and nearly took Moses' life when he had a mission for him? And that was not because Moses was unwilling to go, not because he lacked the courage, but it was because something at home, something within his home wasn't right. Something within his home wasn't in order, wasn't in order. And so that's where you find the story in Exodus chapter 4, verse 23 to 26. Now, this is God saying from verse 23 down, Moses, before you stand before Pharaoh, before you lead my people, you must obey me first. You must set your household in order. Now, this is not just Moses' story. It's a story of husbands and wives, leadership in the home. It's a story about family and leadership. Now, we have about 4 points. And the first point for us is leadership starts in the home, or leadership starts within the home. Now, if you look into 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 5, it says that, for if someone does not know how to manage his own household, how will he take care of God's church? Timothy, em writing inside long pass long am nem toko sam. Suppose one blom man no sabe lo look out him own house blong em keep him house blom in order. Keep him family blom in order. How about you take care of church blo big man? How about you take care of church blo God? How can you be a representative in God's church? So here you find the story of Moses. Moses was about to lead a nation, yet his own family, his own son, one of his own sons, was outside a covenant that God has made with Abraham. Now, God's order is clear. You cannot claim to be a shepherd of the flock while neglecting your own lambs. Your ministry to the world is only as strong as your ministry to your spouse and to your children and to everyone in your household. So in Exodus chapter 4, verses 23 to 26, when you look at 24, it says, at the lodging place on the way, the Lord met Moses and was about to kill him. Verse 25, but Zipporah took a knife, cut off her son's foreskin, and touched Moses' feet with it. Surely you are the bridegroom of a blood to me, she said. Verse 26, so the Lord let him alone. So you see the story of someone who has been through the desert, took care of the sheep in-law blong, now has met God and was given a mission to go out and lead God's people. But at that point, he had 2 sons. And the Bible said the younger son was the one that needed circumcision. This was a covenant that was made with Abraham and God's people, a covenant of circumcision. And so when Moses didn't obey God by circumcising his own son, that could have hindered his ministry, his leadership, the mission that was given to him to go out and lead God's people out of Egypt. And so it is important to understand that if you cannot lead your own home, you are not ready to lead God's people. You cannot be in responsible positions to lead God's people. The second point is God's covenant is non-negotiable. And you find in Genesis chapter 17, verse 10, and it says that this is my covenant. Every male among you shall be circumcised. Now, circumcision was not a cultural preference. It was a sign of belonging to God. And so at the time, circumcision points to obedience to God's covenant, obeying his counsels, not just halfway, but fully. And so we must understand that a leader who treats God's commands as optional will lead God's people into compromise. Point number 3, delayed obedience is disobedience. And that's a principle that you find in this story. Moses probably knew he should have circumcised his son earlier, but maybe he delayed it to keep peace with his wife Zipporah, because that wasn't their culture. So maybe they had a bit of misunderstanding about doing that to the second or the other son, that they prolonged it for a while. And that delay could have cost him his life. There are times when we know that we need to obey God, but we delay it for a while. And when we postpone obedience to God, God sees it as rebellion in motion. Some of us are praying for God to use us, but He's still waiting for us to obey Him in the things that we have postponed. Maybe in purity, or in integrity, or in our commitment to making a decision for Christ. Ellen G. White, Patriarchs and Prophets, says that the Lord seeks to teach His servants that obedience is of greater value than most costly sacrifices. The fourth point is this: the mission of God does not excuse disobedience. You can be on your way to doing God's work, but it could cost you your ministry if we are found disobeying God. Moses was on a divine mission, but God halted him until the covenant was honored at home. Why? Because public ministry cannot cover private rebellion. Success in ministry does not erase compromising in the family. God would rather pause the mission that was given to you and send another faithful member to accomplish it. And so here's how we summarize everything. Before you build the altar in public, build it in your living room first. Before you lead God's people, lead your family, lead your children. Before you preach to the nation, preach to your spouse, to your household, to everyone that is within thy gates. Moses couldn't pass the threshold into Egypt. Why? Because his home compromised the criteria of his mission. Today, God is calling families to realign with his commission, to go to serve. Leaders, fathers and mothers, we cannot afford to lead from a place of private neglect. We cannot neglect some of the things that we know that's weighing us down and continue to think that we are going to serve God, because it can be at a cost. The revival that we always pray for starts in the home. It must start in the home. Our prayer rooms, our worship, our family altars, that must be revived. And just like Joshua, in Joshua chapter 24, verses 15 said, "And as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord."